The assertive nationalists realized that the half-hearted efforts of the early nationalists had not been able to garner much change in the way the British governed India. So the assertive nationalists could see that the moderate methods of pleas and petitions could not really engage the British, because the British thought that these early nationalists could rightly be disposed of, and there was no threat that they posed. So the assertive nationalists, in fact, saw that the Indians had become comfortable in the servitude of the British colonizer. So the Indians had forgotten, through the moderate methods, the ideas of self-reliance and the self-confidence to voice their opinions against the British exploitation. These assertive nationalists were completely disillusioned by the British methodologies and the British. So, as we have seen earlier as well, that the assertive nationalists, that of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, all of them tried to bring back the focus on self-reliance of the Indians. They wanted to completely wipe out the idea of European invincibility, and also wanted to bring the fervor of the nationalist movement into the masses. The exact idea and the methodology that they followed was that of complete non-cooperation, and these ideas of non-cooperation dealt with a lot of other facets. In order to understand that, we need to deal with the methodology of the assertive nationalists. So as we discussed, that disillusioned by the moderate methods of the early nationalists, the young nationalists adopted much stronger attitude against the British. The second was that they tried to create in people a passionate love for liberty and readiness to suffer as well as for sacrifice for the sake of the country. So they wanted to bring that factor of nationalism in people, patriotism in people, that they were readily agree to stand up for their country. So we see that the basic methods of the assertive nationalists that focused on non-cooperation included the facets of Swadeshi and boycott. The assertives adopted the programs of Swadeshi and boycott. Swadeshi was the idea of supporting the indigenous industries and indigenous products, thus boycotting the British products in the market, which would not only garner a support for Indian indigenous economy and provide revenue to India, and also help the revival of indigenous industries, but also it focused upon the factor that it would be an economic blow to the British economy. And boycott was ideally, as Tilak stated, the program and the path to be taken if one wanted to oppose the British. So boycott of foreign goods were taken up, and Swadeshi became the idea and the heart of the non-cooperation program. So anyone who was seeing, buying or selling foreign goods was subjected to social boycott. People were assembled and burned like foreign goods, cloth, salt, and others. So everything that the foreigners gave them was seen as a foreign product, and it was burnt, and it was, boycotted socially. Boycott also involved giving up of government services, honors, and titles. People readily gave up their offices. They were now focusing on complete non-cooperation with the government. So government titles, government offices, government honors were being given away. Now, one of the major factors here is that assertive nationalists, were in fact among major of the youth of India at that point of time. Now, when, British-sponsored government titles and offices were being given up, students also readily moved out and dropped out of the British-sponsored schools and colleges, because education was highly, sponsored by British in India at that point of time. But education education could not be stopped and it had to go on. So these youths were now being trained and educated in the national colleges and national schools. So we see that the idea of national education is again brought in the forefront. So promotion of national education was also one of their methodologies, where Bengal National College, the National Council of Education, and the Pachiappa National College was established. The Bengal National College established in Kolkata, and the National Council of Education, which is now Jadavpur University of Kolkata, and the Pachiappa National College was established in Chennai. Thus we see that education was in fact taken as one of the primary facets and was not neglected by the assertive nationalists. So can you tell me what was Jadavpur University previously known as? The Bengal National College, National Council of Education, Hindu College, or Pachiappa National College? The right answer will be National Council of Education. So we see that in focusing, themselves on the promotion of national education, Mahatma Hansraj and Gurudatta Vidyarthi, who were the minds behind the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic movement, established various DAV schools and colleges all across India. So the assertive nationalists, popularized, we could say, the concept of passive resistance. Now, you might have a question as to what was the idea of passive resistance. Passive resistance would mean to take upon the form of resistance that quitted, begging and rather claiming what, goals were set by the nationalists. So this, methodology primarily included that of the non-violent means and complete non-cooperation with the government, and readily taking up not only arguments with the British, but also certain active radical methodologies against the British, which was aimed to gain the self-confidence, the self-reliance of the Indians, as well as swaraj. So we see that they strengthened the national movement by including the masses and fostering within them the spirit of personal sacrifice. Inspired the people of India by their revivalist programs, which invoked greatness of historical figures like Shivaji, Ashoka, Rana Pratap, and such others, generating a sense of pride for the country in the hearts of the people. So we see that Bal Gangadhar Tilak readily revived older festivities in India, so that people could be, united in the face of atrocities that was being showcased by the British on the Indians. Now, all these festivities, all these revivalist programs that were being taken, in fact, wanted to bring back the idea that India had its own glorious past and a pride for the Indian nation. So, to quickly recapitulate the methodologies of the assertive nationalists, first, they adopted Swadeshi and boycott, helped in development of national schools and colleges, utilized the methods of passive resistance, gained widespread participation of masses in nationalist programs. And these ideas, promoted the factor that assertive nationalism readily now wanted to produce a mass movement against the British, realizing that they could take up the political, agitation against the colonizer. So, to reevaluate the achievements of the assertive nationalists included people from all sections of the society. So, masses, an inclusion of mass was in fact a very important factor in assertive nationalism. It infused in them the feeling of national pride, self-confidence, and the pride about India's past, encouraged them to challenge the imperial rule. They provided a spurt of several indigenous industries through their Swadeshi and boycott programs. So ideally, all the methodologies, all the ideas, all the working mandate that was taken up by the assertive nationalists were focused on non-cooperating with the government, but was also focused on creating a program for India where India could not only economically gain out of the national movement, but also prosper in terms of culture. So we see that Swadeshi and boycott not only created in the minds of the people that they were to fight against the colonizers in a united way, but also it garnered a lot of support for the indigenous industries. So we see indigenous industries like that of iron and steel industries, the Bengal chemical works were being set up to support the nationalist movement, to provide work to the Indian masses. So ideally an Indianization of the working sphere as well as the growth of industries so that it could support the Indian people and create a sustainable economy. Thus, we see the Swadeshi Bhandar was also started by Rabindranath Tagore as as a way so that people could buy Swadeshi goods. Thus, we understand that they were forcing the British government to grant many reforms and remove various unjust acts like the Official Secrets Act of 1923, the Morley Minto reforms of 1909, and the assertive nationalists focused on the factor that the constant repression by the British had driven the youth to the wall at this point of time, and they were now trying to change that picture in India. So they were in fact successful in annulling the partition of Bengal in 1911. That was the blow from Lord Curzon and his divisionist policies. Thus, we understand that assertive nationalism had created a great fervor and had instilled in the hearts of the people, the Indian people, a sense of patriotism, a sense of nationalism towards, the nation. So, the assertive nationalists produced several revolutionaries who were ready to sacrifice their lives. Now, as a process of protest, people would readily go into the jails and come out of it as if it was a day's affair, and it was very normal for them, so that they could garner the mass support and to showcase that it was absolutely all right and desirable to sacrifice one's life or sacrifice oneself for the independence of India, for Swaraj, now for their country, and wanted to drive away the British rulers by any means. So we see people like Bhagat Singh, Veer Savarkar and Chandrasekhar Azad being the face of assertive nationalism. Now assertive nationalism and the assertive nationalists therefore took the method of passive resistance and tried to claim self-rule Swaraj for India, where Indians would be allowed to govern the fellow Indians, and they would be administratively adept in forming the governing powers for India, therefore moving out of the British ambit and the British governance. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly, learn via games, and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.